Here's Direct Connection with Jeff Salkin.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in for Direct Connection. Coming up, what patients need to know to get the best care at urgent care centers. That's ahead, but first tonight, business is, well, it's blooming for florists in the days leading up to Valentine's Day. Joining us tonight to answer your floral questions is Eddie Wingrat, president of Flowers and Fancies. Eddie, thanks for being here.
Nice to be here, Jeff.
I hear this is a busy time of year for you.
Well, we hope so, yes. We look forward to it every year.
All right, Valentine's Day is 4 days away. What's it like in your business? Certainly the 14th, you got a lot of deliveries, but what's the week like?
Well, the week has really started about a month ago, if you will. We started planning a while ago to make sure that we had the right flowers at the right price for all of our customers. And as the buyer procures that, they start coming in actually this past weekend. And now we have to process them in order to get them ready to be designed for the customers.
If you're the buyer, you're worried about getting them too soon, having them wilt before the 14th. So, I mean, do you have a lot of people coming in that day?
So most people come in the 13th or the 14th, but of course the procrastinators wait until the 14th and then they call or come in. But the fact of the matter is that the science of the arrival and the producing them in order for them to last the longest is we have down to a pretty good science. So we're on top of that.
How much of it is roses?
How much of the holiday is roses?
Yeah, I mean, what else do you think of for Valentine's Day?
Well, that's a great question. I'll turn it back around on you. You think of roses at all times, but there's many other things that can be given or received for Valentine's Day. A couple of examples are right in front of us here. Not only are they beautiful
Those are roses, right? The thing in the middle is not a rose.
But this is called a ranunculus. These are from Holland.
Let's sort of lift that up a little bit.
This is a ranunculus.
It's a
As you
ranunculus.
can see, it looks like a rose. Looks like a rose, but it really has the same shape, but it's a much different flower, and it really is a beauty. Then we also have these purple flowers over here called Phalaenopsis orchids, if you could show those.
Where are we? Here we go.
And of course, included in that are some protea, pincushion protea, the little pincushion pieces that look like they're from the sea. So it creates a different look. So roses are predominant, don't misunderstand me, but roses come in many different colors. They come in peach, yellow, purple, orange, white, pink, shades of pink. So whereas red is a traditional color, there's many other things available for those have different tastes and different that their loved ones would like to see.
Your store's been open for a few years. How's the business changed in terms of what you can offer people in mid-February, and you know, just how the product has changed and maybe how customers have changed?
So yeah, we've been open for a few days. We opened in 1971. The process has changed due to the fact of technology. A lot of flowers are now grown overseas that we bring in. We import many of these flowers, as you see here. These roses, for example, this is called a heart rose. Hopefully you can see the shape inside the heart, inside the rose. These are grown in Ecuador. We fly our roses in from Ecuador almost every day. They come in packages like this. So the industry itself has become extremely advanced in regard to shipping, as well as the technology allows them to grow to a certain level, a high level of consistency in colors as well as size.
Is it like bananas, you know, where they put them on the boat green?
It's better than bananas. This purple flower is that color every single time in that stage when you order it. Same thing with these ranunculus or these peach roses. They come in the same exact form every time. That's what kind of a science it's gotten to. So the technology on the growing side is almost as good as the technology on the production side, where we have to try to track deliveries, for example.
Let me remind our viewers, if you have a question about the world of flowers, the floral business, give us a call. We'll have the number up on the screen. You can also email your questions. The email address is livequestions@mpt.org. So we've talked about how these things get to you from Ecuador in good shape. But I've had experiences, you bring something home, certainly not from your store, and the next day it's wilted. And it always comes with a little package of stuff. What are you supposed to do?
So flowers are perishable, but let's start from the beginning. They have stems, as you can see from these. They're usually dry at the end. Again, they've been sitting for a while. These are shipped and take 24 hours to come into our country, and then maybe another 24 hours to get into our place. So what we do is we make sure that the water, number one, is tepid when we place the flowers in. And yes, the packet of food is very important to place in, because what that does is it keeps the life of the flowers much longer. Actually, what it really does is it kills the bacteria that develops inside the water. So without a hesitation, you want to cut your stems on an angle, okay? On an angle, for the simple reason that they then will stand up in the vase and allow the water to hydrate through the stems. So if you can see that, the water is now, or the bottom of the flower is not touching the bottom of the vase, but it's really coming up as the stems are cut on an angle, and that will stay in there like this, and the bottoms of the flowers will not be able to block the water, so they become hydrated. It's another thing that you can do when your flowers turn a little bit. You can cut them every day or every other day. Change the water.
Tepid water, how important is that?
Well, cold water comes into play in that if it's warmer, it comes up the stems faster. So tepid water, as you would wash your hands, not hot, but tepid.
And I had not heard the idea before that you cut it on an angle. Makes sense. Cutting a fresh bottom, it's like a Christmas tree, that makes sense. How about what you're cutting it with? I mean, if you're grabbing the kitchen scissors, you may wind up doing more crushing than you want. You want something sharp.
That's a great point. Most people have a set of shears or a pair of scissors, whether it be ribbon scissors or shears. We like to use a knife with a sharp edge. You have to be careful not to cut your thumb or your fingers, but the sharpest instrument that you may have in your place or in your kitchen would be most helpful, and that will give you a good clean cut so that the cells on the bottom of the flowers are able to get the liquid right away.
If not the little packet of whatever that stuff was.
Flower food.
Flower food. I've heard you can use something else, and I can't remember, is it sugar?
So you can use an aspirin.
Really?
Or you can use 7-Up. What it does is it cleans the water, disinfects the water, and keeps the water clean. That's really what's happening. The stems from the flowers are really just deteriorating as soon as you put them in the water, and to try to keep the bacteria as far away from the stems as you can is what you do. That's why we change the water, and that's why we try to use some kind of bacteria killer inside.
What's a reasonable expectation for how long something should look good after you take it home?
If you add water, if water is added on a daily basis, don't forget these are live living things. They have to drink water to survive, but you should get a week out of these. You should get a week out of these.
How much competition do you get from this time of year? You hear so many ads. You see ads online for flowers that people can ship direct to your house. There's that. There's every grocery store this week will have a big display. As a business person, how do you look at that competition?
I don't really look here. We're focused on our own business, quite frankly. We want to make sure that what our customer experience is superior, and we leave it to them.
How much of your orders comes in through the front door versus over the phone, the internet, on a regular basis, or leading up to a holiday like Valentine's Day?
So, being in Knowings Mills, we have developed a really nice walk-up group. We're in a business area, so there's a lot of people that work in the business area, but most of our business does come by the telephone. We've had our internet business since, almost 20 years now. So we were kind of young at that. We learned how it works. We have a person, Kristen, who's been on staff for 19 years now, who runs it, and she's pretty astute. So we do a lot of online business, and that's a great place for people to see what we can offer.
Let me see if I can show off one last thing, which was, this thing is amazing. It comes with the champagne, and I can't really tilt it up because there's water in it. But these are not exactly long stem roses in here. They're cut pretty tight.
No,
but this is a just killer presentation.
Well, thank you very much. The presentation itself is meant to be a double header, if you will. There's a glass vase inside which holds all the roses, and it's in water, so that can be lifted out and becomes a centerpiece for the table. And of course, the champagne is for the toast for that evening. So you have twofer. You have a twofer in that packaging.
Lastly, as a florist, what do you say to people who give chocolates for Valentine's Day?
Well, there'd be no reason not to call us, for example. We offer one of these packages. Actually, we use Velvet Chocolatier, who's a local business in Stevenson. We package their products in with the wine or champagne and with the roses. So if you're looking for chocolate, perhaps you might want to call us.
Very good. Eddie Wingrad is president of Flowers and Fancies, has plenty of inventory for Valentine's Day. Eddie, thanks for coming by.
My pleasure.
We
Thanks
appreciate
for having
it.
us.
When we come back, we'll focus on health care with a look at the differences between the ER and urgent care. We'll be right back.
Got an unused vehicle going nowhere? Donate it to the one place that can take you any place. Visit mpt.org/vehicles and support the programs you love on MPT.
The MPT app puts our programs right at your fingertips, so you can choose when to watch, what to watch, wherever you want to watch it. Download it now.
I grew up in a small American farming town, didn't have a lot. I lived with 7 siblings in a single wide trailer. I just felt like, why couldn't life be better for me? I remember to this day, I turned on the TV and saw Les Mis on great performances. The music was so powerful. I believed that I can do that. It truly inspired me. Today I have a full-time career, but I also have a dream, to sing in a prestigious opera company. It takes work, time, dedication. Sharing my love for music with people gives me joy. PBS helped me think anything's possible. Now I really know what I want in life, and that's singing. PBS gave me the confidence to take a chance on myself.
This is a box that showed you a world beyond your own. It was just a box, but the world has changed, and so have we. And now the box can be almost any size or shape. And you decide what you want to explore. Anytime, any place. Break out of the box with PBS.
Joining us in the studio for this week's Your Health segment is Dr. Scott Berger, Chief Medical Officer at ChoiceOne Urgent Care. Doctor, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Where are your locations in Maryland?
So with the University of Maryland, we have 10 locations scattered throughout Baltimore County, Anne Arundel County, on the eastern shore of Maryland, and up into Hartford County.
When do you want somebody to come to you versus going to the emergency room versus waiting and maybe calling their primary care physician in the morning?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I've been in this for quite a while and did emergency medicine before this. So urgent cares are really set up and designed to take care of non-life-threatening urgent needs. So that's the cut on your arm that you think you might need stitches. That's the child with the sore throat or fever. That's the illness that's not getting better and your doc maybe is not available, it's a weekend, or you kick your toe on the nightstand, twist your ankle playing soccer. You know, the list goes on, but it's not the place where somebody would go where if they're concerned that the chest pain that they're having could be related to their heart.
Call 911
That's
for that
right.
one.
Yeah.
You know, the business I was reading has continued to grow fast, approaching $20 billion on a national basis. What's driving that?
I think, you know, it's really interesting watching the evolution of this business. We are becoming much more consumer-driven and retail-driven as a society, right? We expect results now. We expect everything immediately. And the traditional primary care model was not able to do that, right? There's so much complexity involved with taking care of patients that doctors can't get you in same day often. And then there's also the lack of the ability to do certain things that an urgent care can do. So we have on-site x-ray, right? So if you sprained your ankle and you're not sure maybe something's broken, the default used to be, well, you have to go to the emergency room and incur the long wait there and also that very high cost of care for going there. Now with urgent cares, people have just come to realize and expect that they can be seen by somebody the same day, and urgent cares really felt that need.
Where does the pricing fall for people with most commercial insurance versus the expense, seeing you versus the expense of seeing the ER or the primary care visit?
It's very much more in line with the costs associated with care at a primary care's office. It is probably 1/5 to 1/10 the cost of care in the emergency room. And look, at the emergency room, they're staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year with advanced level testing and a building with a lot of people who can take care of you. So the cost for delivering care is much greater. But they're really set up, having worked in that world, to be able to take care of that person who's having a heart attack or the person who's been shot or had something severe happen to them. And that's what they're there for. So for when people default go there for their sore throat or their sprained ankle, unfortunately, they're going to incur some of that cost, and with more insurance being high deductible, and more of the cost being passed down to the patient or the consumer, there really needs to be more and more education so that people understand when to go to the ER versus the urgent care environment.
Let me remind our viewers, if you have a question about urgent care as a business, when to go, when not to go, give us a call. We'll have the number up on the screen. You can also email your questions. The email address is livequestions@mpt.org. Staffing, who do you have on site? Do you have to have a physician, nurse practitioners, a mix? What are the rules?
Yeah, so we have a mixture of nurse practitioners, physicians, physician assistants. The physician assistants and nurse practitioners all have a supervising physician who meet with them monthly, perform chart review and quality audits. We also have medical assistants and x-ray technologists to take the x-rays when somebody needs them.
Are there people who use you for primary care? Do you want to be in that business?
No, part of our urgent care strategy is to partner with the primary care community, and so our partnership with University of Maryland medical system allows us to form and fortify relationships with the primary care doctors in the community so that we can service their patients and take care of them when they're not available or for it's a service that they're not able to do. But we recognize that there's a lot of complexity that goes into managing people's underlying chronic health conditions, and it's just better suited for that environment where the doctor is able to schedule those appointments. We're a walk-in basis for the most part, so you need to be able to adapt and respond to the volume that comes in at any given moment.
It's a great service when people need it, but I have to tell you, the one concern I would have walking in the door is the waiting room and how many people are in there with, the flu, the norovirus, this time of year, everything. I'm sure you work hard to sanitize things, but is that a concern?
Sure, it's always a concern, and so you try to bring people back as quickly as possible and have them isolated in rooms. But a great thing that we have is the ability to do what we call an online reservation. So through our website, ChoiceOneUC.com, patients can see what the wait time currently is at any of our centers, and they can pick a time. So say it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and you know that you want to come in at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, you can make a reservation for 3 o'clock in the afternoon, put in a little bit of information about yourself, including your cell phone number, and we'll keep your place in line. And then if we wind up, let's say 2:30 rolls around and 5 people show up, so we know it's going to be a little bit later for you, you'll get a text message alerts telling you to wait at home, and hey, we recommend that your new arrival time be 3:30 to try to minimize some of that time in the lobby where you can be cross-contaminated with others.
Where do the minute clinic type places fit into this? So we have a spectrum of care running from shock trauma to the neighborhood emergency room to you guys, but there are retail stores, drug stores that have little clinics, very small, How do they fit in?
Yeah,
what can they do? What can't they do?
I've never worked at one, so I'm just speaking from working with people who've worked at them. There is some similar things. They can swab somebody's throat for strep throat. They can treat allergies, but they do have some significant limitations, both in terms of the testing that's available. They don't have access to EKG or X-ray, the amount of testing that they can do, the follow-up care that they can administer. The Minute clinics have really been trying to figure out their way for a while now. They've been out there for quite a while, and I would say that they've been venturing from the acute care side to looking at some of the more chronic disease management, and I think they're still trying to find their identity there.
Let's take a phone call from Alexandria. This is Roderick. Thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I'm interested to know how this urgent care center reaches out to the community around them. It seems to me that urgent care centers really focus on the geographical area where they're located. How do you reach out to them? What kind of responses do you get?
Thanks very much. I mean, it's retail, I guess.
It really is. It's a great question, and so we're really committed to our communities. And so we partner with the Chamber of Commerce, with the hospital system through the University of Maryland to find out who the key stakeholders are, to participate in community events, whether it's a skeet event out on the Eastern Shore, skeet shooting, or different events in Hartford County, where we're present and we want to be visible. We also send out direct mailers to people. We do a lot of internet marketing as well, but we're really committed to being in the community. So we like to hire people who live in the same community where they're working, because they are some of our greatest advocates, are the people who work there. They're able to share their story with their friends and family.
Let's take a phone call from Hartford County. This is Gloria. Gloria, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
I question who oversees these urgent care centers, these walk-in prompt care and whatnot. I've had an experience that was not at all pleasant. I wound up in the hospital after visiting one on an afternoon, and then the following evening I was taken to the hospital by ambulance. My question is, who oversees these? And I recall the woman who was, I guess she was a nurse or whatever, trying to take an EKG. She tried 4 different times and said to me, "Oh, I'm not familiar with these. I can't seem to get it to work right."
Gloria, thank you very much for the phone call. We'll get an answer for you, and glad you're doing better. Is there oversight?
Yeah, there is oversight, and at ChoiceOne centers, all oversight is done by physicians. So we're monitoring all the care that's delivered. And we actually have people who are not just doing it based around chart review, what I referenced earlier. We also have people who are on call all the time. So all care is overseen by a physician all hours of operations.
How much is pediatrics versus adult?
It's probably about 15% or so that's pediatric. And the remainder of it kind of extends up through the spectrum, with a lot of our patients being the 20s and 30-somethings. And then you get the families, people in their 40s, and you keep going up, through the age brackets.
Phone call from Queen Anne's County. This is Colin. Thank you for the call. Go ahead.
Hi there. This is Colin.
Yes.
Jeff, I have a question. How does this fit in with the primary care doctor, but also with the insurance company?
Okay, thank you very much. We talked about some of the insurance and how it's compensated, but in terms of how you communicate with somebody's primary care, how does that work?
So that's so critical to what we do at ChoiceOne. We ask every single patient who your primary care doctor is. And through our affiliation with the University of Maryland, we have great working relationships with all of these doctors. And so if a patient is seen at one of our centers, we know who your primary care doctor is, and we're getting them a copy of the clinical summary at the conclusion of the visit, so they know exactly what happened with your care, what medications were given, what your vitals looked like, what testing was done, and the results of those tests. And then all that information is shared back with them same day, real time, essentially.
Your relationship with the University of Maryland Medical System is with the component hospitals. How does that work?
Yeah, so we have joint venture relationships with the different University of Maryland hospitals, with Upper Chesapeake, with University of Maryland St. Joe's, with Baltimore Washington Medical Center, and with Shore Regional. We also work with the healthcare system at large, with the medical system. And what's great about that is the ability to really partner and collaborate. When we started ChoiceOne, really it was all built around the idea of an integrated urgent care model, and that meant that you had to really partner with the larger healthcare community so that if somebody had a fracture, we know who we were going to send them to for their orthopedic follow-up, and that orthopedic group knew us. Or if they had a primary care doctor, so we could identify who they are, make sure we get the information back to them so that they can follow up the care, and then we can collaborate with them further on future patient encounters, and they know what we're doing and give us feedback.
This time of year, middle of winter, what are your volumes like, and seeing a lot of flu, I guess?
We were. Flu season has really quieted down.
Yay.
Yeah, it was not the season that it was. Last year was a really brutal year all across the country, which I know we all saw on TV and many of us experienced personally. So still seeing high volumes of influenza-like illnesses, and winter time is just worse with all that stuff. But knock on wood, it has not been the flu season like we saw last year.
Dr. Scott Berger of ChoiceOne Urgent Care, thank you, sir, for the time. Thank you for joining us for Direct Connection, and have a good night.
Your health segments are a co-production of Maryland Public Television and the University of Maryland Medical System.
This program was made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities.